Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In the last video, we learned about arrays. In this video, we are going to finish the next few lessons on Codecademy. Declaring arrays with let and const. When we declare an array with let, we have more freedom to change the attributes of that array like the contents and the length. We can also reassign the said array to different arrays. When we declare an array with const, it does not mean that the array will remain constant. We can still change the elements within the array but cannot change other attributes like its length or reassign it to a new array. Let's come to the instructions to better understand this concept. So below the two existing arrays, reassign the element in index 0 of condiments to mayo. Log the updated array condiments to the console. So now we can see that we have one array condiments which is declared using let and another array utensils which is declared using const. What we have to do is come over here and say the first element in the condiments array. That means I have to say condiments of index 0 and reassign it to the string mayo, and once that's done I can log the updated value of condiments to the console like that. When I click run, mayo, mustard, soy sauce and sriracha comes to the console. Because of this statement, I have reassigned the first value of condiments, that is ketchup, and given it a new value of mayo. Now we can come to the next instruction. Below your code from step 1, reassign condiments to be a new array that contains a single string mayo. Log the result to the console. Notice that you can reassign elements in an array and reassign the entire new array to a variable using the let keyword. So what you did in this instruction is just reassign an element. Now what we're going to do is reassign the entire array. So we're going to say condiments without passing an index because I want to reassign the whole array, and simply give it a value of mayo and log the value of condiments to the console. So now if I click run, mayo comes to the console and it compiled correctly because I've declared the array condiments using the let keyword. Now let's come to the third instruction. Below your code from step 2, reassign the last item from the utensils array to spoon. So the index of the last item in utensils is 0, 1, 2 and 3. So what I have to come here and do is utensils of 3 is equal to, and give it the value of spoon with a capital S, and I have to log the updated array to the console. So I say console.log utensils and click run and see what happens. So the last element in utensils is redeclared to spoon despite the array being declared using the const keyword. So we can see here that arrays are not entirely constant when they're declared using const. Where we can still change the elements inside the array, but if I try to do something else like just reassign the entire array like this statement over here, I'm going to try and do that. Utensils and give it just a single value of spoon and log the value to the console. Utensils, click run and see what happens. I still get the old output, but now I get an array when I encounter this statement. So it says assignment to a constant variable. So this comes because I am reassigning a constant variable utensils and giving it a new value which is not allowed in JavaScript. So this is the difference between declaring arrays with let and const. Now we can go to the next challenge. The dot length property. In an earlier video, we learned about functions and how to write them. The dot length property is an inbuilt JavaScript function which returns a number of items in an array. This method does not start counting the elements from 0 unlike other index values. It starts counting them from 1 and returns the actual number of items. Let's look at this example here. We have an array New Year's resolutions which is declared using const. It is an array of 2 strings. But now to count the number of items in the New Year's resolutions, we just pass in the name of the array and then write dot length at the end. So this just means that we are calling the dot length function of an array. So when we log the value of New Year's resolutions dot length to the console, we get the value 2, as said in this comment over here. Let's come to the instructions. Find the length of the objectives array and log it to the console. Codecademy has declared an array objectives using const and given it an array value which has 3 strings. What we have to do is come here and say console.log objectives, let's just move the cursor, objectives dot length. Now let's run and see what happens. We get 3 because the objectives array indeed has 3 strings. One is learn a new language, second is read 52 books, and third is run a marathon. Each element in an array is separated by a comma over here. So now we can also do this in one more way. We can declare a variable const length and give it the same value of the objectives dot length, and if we log the length variable to the console, we will still get the same output, 3. This is because the function is getting called over here and the value is being stored in a variable length, and we are simply logging the variable length to the console. Now we can go to the next challenge. The dot push method. Push is another inbuilt JavaScript function which primarily concerns arrays. It does exactly what it says. When we pass values to the push function, it just pushes the values we pass to it up to the end of the array. We can pass as many elements as we want to it, and it will push the elements to the end of the array in the order in which we passed it. Dot push is also called as a destructive method because it changes the initial state of the array. Let's come to this example here. We have an array item tracker which is declared using const, and it is an array of 3 strings, item 0, item 1, and item 2. Now we are calling the dot push method and pushing in 2 more items, item 3 and item 4, separated by a comma. So what this line does is it will simply push these 2 items, item 3 and item 4, to the end of the array and in the order in which we passed it. So when we console.log item tracker to the console, we will get item 0, item 1, item 2, which is the initial array, and the pushed values item 3 and item 4, which is a part of the same array. Now let's come to the instructions. Add 2 elements to the chose array using dot push. So I come here and say chose dot push. Let's make up some elements over here. What can I do over here? Clean room, and what else can I say? Charge laptop. And now let's click run. You can go to the next instruction. Use console.log to print the chose array to make sure your items were added. So now I'm gonna come here and say console.log chose. Let's click run. Wash dishes, do laundry, take out trash, clean room, and charge laptop are all part of the array after the statement is executed. So and now we can go to the next challenge. The dot pop method. This method is the opposite of the dot push method. When we call pop in an array, it removes and returns the last element in that array. It does not take in any arguments, unlike push, because it focuses on removing only the last element from the array. Let's come to this example. We have an array new item tracker which is an array of 3 strings, item 0, item 1, and item 2. Now when we call pop and the array, it will pop out the last element, item 2, and return it also. So now we are storing this returned value of new item tracker dot pop in a new variable called removed. So now once this statement is executed, removed will have the value of item 2, and new item tracker will just have two elements in it, item 0 and item 1. When we log the value of new item tracker to the console, we get item 0 and item 1 as expected. And when we console.log removed, we will get item 2 because that was the last element in the new item tracker array. So now it is not necessary to store the return value from pop in a variable. It's just handy depending on how we use it or what code we write. Let's come to the instructions. Use the dot pop method to remove the last element from chose. So the instructions say that you just have to call the pop method. So I'm not going to store in any variable or anything. Chose dot pop. So let's click run. We can go to the next instruction. In a line after you call chose.pop, log chose to the console to make sure it worked. So now I'm going to come over here and say console.log chose. So now ideally this should say wash dishes, do laundry, take out trash, and cook dinner. So now this mob flow item should go away because this statement is executed and the last item is removed because that's what pop does. Let's click run and see what happens. Wash dishes, do laundry, take out trash, and cook dinner indeed comes to the console, and with that the challenge also is over. So before I end the video, I'm just going to test something out. So I'm going to see what happens when I call the dot pop function on an empty array. Let's declare an array first. Const empty array, and just give it no value at all, an empty array. And now I'm just going to say console.log empty array dot pop. So now that the empty array has no elements, as the name says, but now what pop does is it should be able to remove some element from the end of the array. Now, but since the array is empty, let's click run and see what happens. Undefined comes to the console because pop can't remove any items from an empty array. So guys, that was it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.